but I'll go through a phase where I wear all rings. And then one day I'll wake up and think, I look like a fucking hairdresser. And then I'll like not wear rings forever and I'll go to bracelets. Then in the summertime I'll go to necklaces. It's one thing or the other. It's not everything together. I walk around New York and it seems a little tame. You know, you don't see like the mavericks and, you know, all the crazy people. If they are crazy, they're like homeless and insane. And my mom always said that if you have too many friends, you lose your edge. So I kind of feel that that's true. Because you spread yourself too thin, you know? It's like, oh, hi. But you don't really get to know anyone. They're just acquaintances. I'm from Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio. Up in the hills. Cincinnati's like a city of 7 hills, so it's kind of beautiful. Well, back then it was beautiful. I don't know if it is so much today. Cincinnati back then was just easy. It was the 70s, you know? It was a different age. Like, people weren't working their fingers to the bone to, you know, accumulate. They were just working for the weekend, I suppose. There is never a point in my life where I ever thought, oh, fuck my mom, you know, I hate her, I hate that bitch. She's always been very true to me and very close. I can't imagine the world without her. My father is the total opposite, very conservative, quiet, very quiet. She's on the sassy side, she'll tell you just like it is. I remember, you know, my dad referring to Lacoste as, you know, he would get like the credit card receipt. My mom taking us shopping. Oh, Lacoste a lot. Why do you pay so much? I worked in finance for a long time. Back then, I had the energy to go home and be creative. I work for a major corporation. I'm on staff as their stylist. I feel as if I didn't work in a creative environment, but I was much more creative personally. Whereas now when you're in a creative environment, it kind of feels like you're just exhausted. You know, working in the creative world, we're always very quick to judge and to put our 2 cents in and tell people, you know, what we think is good taste and what we think is bad taste. And so sometimes when I walk down the street and I see like a fine look, or like someone will say like, would you wear your rug out today? You know, I think, you know, my immediate reaction is, you know, fuck you. But then, secondary, I think, maybe I'm getting my just desserts. I mean, because, you know, we live in a critical society. I'm always attracted to polka dots. There's something about the symmetry, how linear, how it's so symmetrical, and it makes everything so beautiful. There's something about it that's just so appealing. I mean, you could polka dot garbage, and it's going to make it much more attractive. There's very few pieces that I currently own that I've had for a length of time. I have a vintage French linen Ungaro shirt that is literally, it's disintegrating, and I can't part with it. I take it to the bathroom sink, and it's like the Holy Grail. You know, like, don't wring it. Just try to get the smell out without anything falling apart. Well, I always go through phases. Like when you saw me, I think that I was wearing all navy blue and had a gray hat on. And I will probably wear that almost every day, a version of that for, you know, 3 months until I'm sick of it. And then I retire it. Isabella Rossellini a long time ago said that her closet is only navy blue, black, and gray because she doesn't have the time to make decisions. It's very smart, you know? So it's like I tend to land on one particular thing that I love for a while, and I stick with it. And I imagine my coworkers, you know, the people that don't know me well enough probably think, my God, the same thing every day. This outfit made people stare.
Every day for a month?
Every day for a month. I mean, I changed my underwear and like my shirt, but I walk down the street and there would be like a look of horror in people's eyes, like you were coming to perform an exorcism or something. Like they didn't know if I was like some rabbi gone awry or a priest that was running around town, or people just didn't know what it was. There were certain situations where you dressed for that situation. Like if I wanted to go to a thrift store, and most of the thrift stores are in, you know, like neighborhoods that aren't that great, but the best stuff was there. You know, if it was winter and it was after 6 p.m., you dressed a certain way. And I've been jumped a few times, so I don't, you know, it's like when you get to be this age, you think, you know, I'll suck it up and conform. No, there were 3 instances. One, I was on my bike and I got pushed off of my bike. I was riding in between traffic, so I hit another.
In the city?
This was in Cincinnati. And then the other time was, and this is the one that everyone laughs about, is it was my friend Susan Ash's birthday, and I was riding my bike and she was on her rollerblades. And she said she turned around and she said this big ghetto Cadillac was pulling up next to you. And she said, and all of a sudden, and I see it pulling up alongside of me, and all of a sudden the back window comes, and you see the back window go down, and the next thing I saw was the Yellow Pages. Someone in their hand had the Yellow Pages and hit me upside the head with it. So I got jumped with the Yellow Pages, I guess. And then another time I was living in Kentucky, and I got out of my car after work, and the neighbor boy across the street came up to the back of my head with a gun and said, "I'm gonna kill you, you fucking faggot." And it's funny how you think that, you know, when you think about situations like that, or you hear like people getting jumped, and you think about them fighting back, it's funny how you actually react when you are faced, you know, when you end up in a situation like that. And hopefully it doesn't happen to many people, but I acted like he wasn't there, and I kept walking. And I thought, well, if he's going to shoot me, he's going to shoot me. He shot me. It was a BB gun. I don't pay much attention to the news because I like to live in my own little fantasy world. And it's a downer. And I think that the news, like, I think that they exploit the unnecessary sometimes. The things that are inconsequential in the whole scheme of things. I don't know. I just think that everyone needs to lighten up a little. That it's when you are suffering or when you do feel pain that you're probably your most creative. When you're comfortable and content, you're somewhat complacent. And therefore not willing to push to get to the next. And experiencing that, you know that, you know, it's not the end of the world. And typically when something like that happens, it provides an awakening. You know, it breaks one of the doors in your mind that just opens everything up.